When I was a very young child, I kind of grew up with not loving myself. So at a very young age, I learned that I didn't like myself. Um, Probably because I didn't have a lot of love growing up, and I was kind of left to fend for myself. And so that kind of transitioned into when I became an adult and had my son at 17. I went to college anyways, graduated from SU with a 4-year degree, so I still handled my business, but I still didn't really have a lot of, you know, self-love. So I went from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship, and I finally had my last final relationship that really caused me to break. And I was with a not so nice man for a while, who I was already like, my mindset, my self-worth, my self-love was already at a low, right? And if you get with a man who is going to feed off of that, right? And they're going to control you and they're going to do bad stuff to you, you feel it even worse. So I was very suicidal at the time. And he was not the best guy. He had brought a gun to my house, and I tried to was trying to shoot myself in the act. He tried to help me, and he got shot in the hand, and I went to jail for this for a couple of years. So that was my really low. And of course, I understand that, I had a gun, right? And it could have been really bad. Someone could have got really hurt. So even though my intent was what I was trying to kill myself, but someone could have died. So I understand needing to be punished for that act. But when I went to jail, when I was able to really sit down with myself and really start doing the real work of myself as to who I am today. So that's kind of the short version of my story.
Hi, everyone. I'm Debbie Stokes of Three Women Voices. Welcome. Today, my special guest is Layla Letitia. She will be talking to you about the role your mindset plays in coping with life changes. Hi, Layla. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thanks for having me, Debbie. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So let's jump right into it.
Okay.
Start off by telling everyone a little bit about yourself.
Like Debbie said, I am a life coach and I do focus on mindset. I am the mother of one son. He'll be 27, 26. I'm from New York. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina now.
Okay, so let's go back a minute. Where do you think the self-hate came from?
Just really, I think I grew up like I was a military brat, so my parents kind of like my mother and my real father were together. It was a very unhealthy relationship, abusive relationship. It was not good, right? And we moved around a lot, and so I went to a lot of schools with a lot of, not to say, but Caucasian kids, and I was like the only Black person in the class, and I just never really felt the love. And my parents were not affectionate parents, so I didn't have someone saying, "You're beautiful, you're great." I didn't have anybody cheering for me, so. And I just never wanted to be living. I mean, I remember 8 years old, wanted to die at 8 years old. So it's wow. I to bash my upbringing because that my purpose, but just I know where it all came from being young without loving myself, and I understood how that transitioned into me being an adult and being into really bad situations and how I handled them.
Okay, so now you said you were in different relationships, and you've been through abuse. Okay, was it physical abuse, mental abuse?
So my son's father, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be kind of like, this is going to be like, whoa. So my mother, my real father, he's not living, so may he rest in peace, but he wasn't a part of my life. But I remember him being very abusive to my mother. And one of my biggest memories of my father was when he had a knife to her neck and he dragged her out the house. And I remember me and my brother being 3 and 4, not knowing if my mother was going to come home, right? So memories I have of my father. And then she married another man who was pretty abusive as well, right? Pretty abusive as well. And I just think the combination of all of that. So when I got into my first relationship with my son's father, my mindset then was telling me that no man's going to hit me, right? No man's going to abuse me, right? So I became the abuser in that relationship.
Oh.
No man was going to hit me, right? So when my son's father would, I would hit him first before he can hit me.
Oh, okay.
Abuser, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely a phenomenon. But that was only in that relationship, and the last one that I had was I actually the abuser. But I just didn't want anybody to hurt me first. So
Okay, okay. And I know you mentioned that you were raped before. How did that come about?
it's funny because when I read your questions, I was just like, wow, because I kind of like I would say that it's like it's like back there somewhere, and I kind of I felt some emotions from it because I kind of put it back here,
Okay.
But I was raped in 1998, which was a really tough time for me because it was on a military base, and I had to go through a court-martial trial, and then I was still in college, and then it was a really, really, really rough time. And I went to the court-martial. He was court-martialed. He was punished for the rape. But I didn't really have time to really deal with the rape because I was in my last semester of college, right? So I was in trial for a week, and then the next day I was going to New York to intern for my degree.
Okay.
So really no time to grieve or to,
Right.
you know what I mean? And so it's like, and the one thing that I have always been is that I'm very functional. I don't know if that's the right word, but functional. I function because I have to. I was in college and I had to finish college. I had to go to this internship at Chase. I had to do it because that's what I do. I kind of function, but I never dealt with stuff. So it just builds and builds and you don't deal with stuff.
Okay. So now moving on to when you said you had a gun and you were going to attempt to kill yourself. Okay. And your boyfriend at the time, he stopped you. That's how he got shot in the hand.
Well, it was a very emotional time for me. If people really don't, the effects of wanting to die is a very, very bad place to be. And he had left the gun at my house, and I was like on the computer trying to figure out how to use this gun, right? I was sick back then. I will tell you right now, I was not in the right frame of mind back then, but I was just like texting him all night. He was like ignoring me, and I know he had been out where he shouldn't have been out, and I was like, you know what, he needs to feel the pain because I felt like the whole time we were together that he didn't know the pain he caused me, and I wanted him to feel the pain of seeing me shoot myself. It's not logical. I understand, right? It's not logical, but I wasn't logical back then. And so I went to him, and I was, like this with the gun. And he was like begging me, no, 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 no. And then he came towards me. Then I pointed towards him, right? Like, just get away from me. And then he stepped to it. Was a reaction. It was a reaction that went off, and he got hit in the hand. So,
okay.
It was more reaction than an intentional, but he got shot nonetheless. So.
Okay. So now take us to the part where, okay, you were incarcerated for it. You said you did 2 years?
I did. I was sentenced to 3 years, and I did about 2.5 years.
Okay, so now while you were incarcerated, give us the mindset of where you were, mentally.
Well, in the beginning of incarceration now, but my mindset was still pretty effed up. It was pretty effed up because, my boyfriend at the time, and he was still my boyfriend at the time. And, through the process of me being in county jail, you go to county jail first and you get sentenced to prison. So during that time, he was like, the boyfriend, he loves me, he misses me, he's going to do everything he can, and he'll be supporting me, and don't say nothing about the gun, all these great things. So I'm like, okay, team him. When we get home, we're going to be together, we're going to make it work, right? So I'm thinking, like, I'm still kind of messed up, right? And so I remember just sitting in Bedford Hills. People who know New York, they know Bedford Hills is like the max prison for women. And
okay.
That's like the reception. Every prisoner goes to Bedford Hills when you're first incarcerated. So I go there and I get my stamps and I'm writing my boyfriend because I'm like, I'm still like in love with him, right? And the best thing happened to me is that God allowed me to see his true side. Okay, and what I'm going to say is that he didn't write me. He didn't come visit me. He didn't do anything. So everything he promised me that he was going to do, he didn't do any of it. And so I think it got July of 2010. I was still writing him up to this time, writing him every week, kind of see what is going on, right? And I'm like, why? Where's he at? So in July, and my birthday's in July, ironically, right? Okay. I had to just let it go, and I had to just focus on me. So, like I said, God allowed me to see him for who he is, and then I was actually able to okay, this is real, right? And I had to say, Letitia, Layla, how did you get here, right? Like, what are you doing here? This is not your life. This is not what you had mapped out for your life. You're in prison. Like, how did you get here? And then I had to really start doing a deep, deep, deep reflection on myself, and that's when I started doing the work on myself.
Okay, so that was your turning point.
My turning point, yeah. And I always say, I can't express it more that, during that time, I feel like God's when I was out world, I kept praying, I need to get away from this man. Please get away from this guy. I'm praying, please help me get away from this man. And just not strong enough to do it because he's coming back. I'm kicking him out. He's coming back. And, I need him. I need his love, right? I needed it. And so when I was allowed to see him for who he is and not who I thought he was, it was a lot different for me. And that's when I was working on myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an awakening. Yeah.
It was sitting there. It was, because I was still in my sickness, as I call it, thinking that when I come out of jail that me and him are going to just pick up where we left off.
Okay. So now, in your experience with being in jail and then coming out, what did you learn about yourself that made you, I know you had a turning point, but made you make the first move or take the steps necessary to change?
I was, in jail, right? And I'm looking like I don't belong here. And a lot of the CEOs would be like, why are you here? Like, you don't even look at you. Like, what are you doing here? Like, what did you do? Why? And they couldn't leave because I'm just a quiet person. I don't bother nobody, And they're like, why are you here? Why are you here? But, it really was it was like my son. And it was also it was my son, but it was I can't continue feeling this way by myself. And I was going through a trauma program there that was really, because I never dealt with the rape either, right? So able to go through this intensive trauma program while I was inside. And I had a very, very, very great mental health professional that really, she kept telling me, what part did you do? What's your part? Because I wouldn't say that I blamed him, because it's kind of like during the relationship, it was me and I was two different people. There's a part of me that's why are you here? What are you doing? I'm here on the outside, and I know that I shouldn't be doing this with this man. But then it's I'm here and I'm stuck, So I had a great lady who really, 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 cared about, she cared about me, and I connected with her on some level, and I was able to do a lot of work. I got into therapy before this. Before this happened, I was in therapy as well. So this has been an ongoing battle for me. Yeah.
Okay. So now, what would you say to people who may be contemplating giving up or contemplating, they're having suicidal thoughts?
Who I am today, the only thing I can tell anybody is that, that it will get better, and tomorrow's a new day to do something different. I know how it is to be in that dark, dark, dark place. And, I understand it, but I'll tell you, for one, get help. Don't be like me. Don't be like this solo person that doesn't talk to anybody. When this happened, my friends are like, holy crap, they would have never known that I was in pain. I'm a good function. I can function well. I hide everything, right? I hid everything. So I would just tell people, get help, reach out for help. Don't carry it all on your own, because so many people like you have been going through the same thing. You're not alone in this, and there's help. So don't be afraid of help. And also, it will get better. It will get better. We have value in our lives. Even when we feel the most hate for ourselves, we have value because we are all worthy. Doesn't matter the state we're in, we're still worthy.
Okay. Now, in your decision to turn your life around or change your mindset, what is the process when a person is trying to change their mindset?
changing the mindset, it takes a lot, right? It's because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, right? It's a serious process. The one thing that I had to do, that I had to control for me personally, was negative self-talk. The person that, I'm not good enough. This is what I deserve. You deserve this. You should be here. You are no good. So you got to learn how to control your negative self-talk. That's key, right? The next thing you have to do is watch the language you're using of your life. So language is important. How you speak about yourself is so important. And I like to tell my clients today that, if you would not say it to your daughter, your father, your mother, your friend, you shouldn't be saying it about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watching the language you live your life is so, so important. And it's just practice every day, right? It's just practice everyday practice. And just know, I say, set goals too. Like setting goals is very, very important too, because you can actually track your progress when you set goals.
So now tell everyone your process from pain to change and then to coaching.
I lived in pain for so much of a lot of my life, and people would not have known it. But I would say that it's funny to say that jail was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because it allowed me to see myself differently. You know what I mean? Myself. I started to understand like I'm worthy. I started to look at myself in the mirror. I think when I was out, my therapist told me, tell yourself you love yourself every day. In the mirror, say, I love you. Like, I love me every day, right? And I'm like, this lady's crazy. I don't like myself. How am I going to say I love myself every day?
Yeah.
But when I started to do it, honestly, I really started to believe it, right? I was like, wow, and I just started to believe that I had worth and I was valued. And I also had the one thing I had to forgive myself. I think that's the part that I should have said earlier. One of the biggest things about my mindset transition was forgiving myself, right?
Okay.
Myself for allowing that bad relationship, because I believe that, I played a big part in it, because I allowed all this stuff to go on for so long, forgiving myself and understanding it was then forgiving myself, embracing myself, right? And that was key, forgiving myself. And just learn to love myself. Like today, I love myself. I don't care about what people think about me anymore. Because when you live that, when you don't like yourself because you feel like you're kind of like, I just felt like I was never good enough, right? I mean, you can be like in a classroom and be the only Black person, and everybody is pretty, and you're like the little dark skinned girl with the braids in your hair. You just it's just a thing. So just learn to love yourself. I mean, with mindset, I think it's key that you love yourself. And so I do a podcast and I talk about positive self-love and just loving yourself. And for me, there's a difference between the two, because on the outside, people thought I loved myself. I functioned well. I went to school, I worked, I took care of my son. I did everything that anybody would do, but they would never know that I was inside dying, right? So all those aspects of my life, going to school, working, taking care of my son, to me, that's self-love in a way. I'm still functioning, right? But it wasn't loving myself. When I have positive self-love, that's me loving myself. That's when I'm making decisions for me.
Yeah.
I'm putting myself first.
Okay.
And, so that is my like aha, moment. Yeah.
And everything that you've gone through, I know you said some of it was your fault, but did you ever blame anybody else? And then if so, did you ever forgive them?
Well, yeah. So the boyfriend that I had before I went to jail, when we were together before I went to jail, I would always ask him like, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you trying to destroy me? I am a good girl, And so, ironically, after I was in jail, and he was gonna help me out, and he didn't do any of those things, and I was like, I'm gonna forget about him. And so I finally ran into him in the streets one day. I just didn't know, like, how am I gonna react when I run into this guy? Like, what are the emotions gonna be? And so when I saw him for the first time after being out of prison, I didn't have any reactions. It was so great. I didn't have like, there's no anger. I forgave him, no anger. I felt sorry for him because he wanted to be with me still. Like I'm still way past this situation, right? But I definitely don't. I'm not a bitter person. I don't hold grudges against people. My self hate is more personal thing. So my self-hate comes from me allowing people to treat me a certain way, and I just can't stand that I allow it. You know what I mean?
So did you
Yeah.
set boundaries?
I'm a work in progress. I'm human, right? So I still struggle in some areas, but the one thing that I do know now, as opposed to when I was in the dark place, is that, we're going to get sad, right? Because it's life. We're going to still get sad. We're going to have bad ups and downs. We're going to have things that are going to like hurt us, right? The one thing that I do now is that I don't sit in it. I won't allow myself to sit in anything anymore. So I can say, like, I can have some bad news about something, and I would tell myself, Layla, this is but a moment. That's it. But a moment. Myself to deal with, let it linger on days and days and days. Before, it would have me days and days and days. But it's a moment. This should
Yes.
pass and move forward. So for me, setting those limits and making sure that when I am in a dark place, because we're going to go there sometimes, just recognize and say, hey, but a moment. You're going to get out. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, I know that you have some kind of coaching business. Tell us about that.
yes, well, I started Layla's Light last year after I got certified as a life coach, because I was kind of like sitting on so much stuff, and I always wanted to help people, and I would help people anyway. So I said, why not I just start this business and just get right at it? And I'm happy that I started it. I love helping people, you know, get from that fixed mindset to the growth mindset, because it's very important for overall success, not only in business, but just in life in general.
Okay. Okay. Now you co-authored a book. Tell everyone the name of your book and then what inspired the book.
Okay, so my book is called Never Too Late to Grow. It's 30 Tools of Empowerment. So what inspired the book is that I was really, really like, I do all these motivational quotes and all these great things, and I met some guy on Instagram. He was an influencer as well, and I was following his page, and I was like, I like this vibe. Do you want to do a book together? He's like, yes. So the book was born.
Oh.
So it's a book. It just gives different 30 tools of empowerment. We talk about money, faith, love, everything in there. You'll find everything in this book. So it's a great book for empowerment. Yes.
How did God and faith help you with everything that you've gone through?
Well, God, He's been with me all the time, right? God has been watching over this lost soul since the very beginning, right? I've always, my mother, she, before I was born, she was Muslim. And so it's kind of been I've been this for a long time. And I think what changed was when I was first incarcerated. It's going to sound weird, but my son, he was, I think, 15 at the time. This is devastating to lose your mother, right? And I remember, being in my cell, and I just remember crying, like, what about my son? Like, this is horrible. Like, what's gonna happen to my son? I remember just like in tears, like, and I'm just praying to God, like, what is gonna happen to my son? I'm here, and I don't have a close family. And then I kept hearing, like, I will protect him. I'm God. He will be fine. And I had this sense of calm, and then it's like, I've been with you the whole time. And so when I was incarcerated, I did start practicing more, and I started focusing more on God, because it's not that I was without God. It was just that I felt like, because He's been with me so much, and I'm here, like, I got your son. And I just, my faith has really kept me grounded. And also, before, people are great, right? Like, going to your friends and family for problems, they're fantastic, right? Because sometimes they're dangerous, though. So God with a lot of my problems, and I just kind of wait to hear what sign He gives me. So sometimes I'm learning not to rely on people so much, and nothing against people, but sometimes people will not tell you the right thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I need to trust God more, and I'm just so grateful that God has kept me here and kept me safe and kept me motivated, and I understand His lessons, the trials and tribulations. He's like, girl, I was trying to help you, but you won't listen. You don't sit your butt down because you don't listen to me. You know what I mean?
So now, what does it mean to be a survivor?
It means never to give up. So in spite of it all, it's just never to give up. I think that, during my darker times when, suicide was like I tried to kill myself multiple times. So that's just the one. That's just one time that went bad. But you never give up, And I always tell myself today, even when things get to my business, building a business, it's hard work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the clients I want, and this it's just a lot of work. But never giving up, knowing that if you stay on your path and you are authentic and you believe in yourself and you trust, it will happen in the right time.
Mm-hmm. Women are going through any trauma right now. What would you suggest to them?
I would suggest to get some help from a reliable person. I would say, I'm not saying that our friends are bad, but sometimes our friends might not give us the best advice. With a reliable source, you know what I mean? A reliable source, get help. Go to someone you trust. Don't keep it all into yourself. Get some help. Just go to the hospital. Go to a hospital. I remember the day that this happened. My mother actually called the cops on me because she thought I was erratic, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the cops came to my house. They were like, your mother's worried that you're going to try to kill yourself. We're here to talk to you. What's going on, And me, I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, my mother, she knows what you're talking about. Get out of my house. I kicked those cops out of my house so quick. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now you have something called Pause Mindset Bootcamp. What is that?
Well, that's a new coaching program I'm working for my business. It consists of 6 weeks, and it's a 6-week program to help people shift their mindset. Perfection, which is perfection to your ability. So when I say perfect, it really is about perfecting who you are, not perfection in the broad sense, right?
Okay.
That doesn't exist, but we can perfect who we are, being the best versions of ourselves, right? Awareness. So being aware of your mindset, be aware of how you're speaking to yourself, and not only to yourself, but to others, because, there's power in our voice when we talk to others as well, right? And also using nice language, using loving language of yourself and others. This transition is simple. A lot of times we make things harder than they should be. And if you just go with the flow, it's simple. And the effort is simple effort. So that's kind of what Pause Bootcamp is. It's a 6-week program to shift your mindset. Like, we should all be living the best life every day.
What last words of advice do you have for women to help them in their lives?
My biggest advice to all women out there is to love yourself first. I have a weird approach to it. God, then me, then everybody else. Mm-hmm. It can't be the husband, the kids, God, because he's number one, right? Then me, then everybody else. So I think it's very important to have extreme self-love for yourself. Because with self, you make better decisions.
Thank you, Layla. How can people reach out to you if they wanted to reach you?
They can either go to the website at www.lailaslight.com. That is LAILASLIGHT.com. Or you can email me at info@lailas.com.
If you want to reach out to Three Women Voices, you can reach us at 3womenvoices.com. We're on Instagram at 3_women voices. We're on Facebook at the number 3 Women Voices, and our email address is 3womenvoices@gmail.com. And I thank you for watching.